Hey guys, Tomboy61, and today we're back in World of Warships Legends, and we're looking at Azure Lane and the return of it. It's round two of World of Warships, get some anime girls in it, and today we're just going to take a look at the ships that are available and the commanders and see if there's anything worth purchasing, or if this is one where you want to save your money. I'll give you a hint, it's probably the latter. So let's just go ahead and dive on in. First off, if you want to buy everything and you have, I think that's about $200 burning a hole in your pocket, you're more than welcome to save 25% and pay for 46,000 doubloons to get everything you're about to see. I wouldn't, but that option is there. Freedom of choice, man. Capitalism. It's great. Anyways, moving on. One thing that is interesting for this event is they've started selling tech tree ships as new premiums. So Baltimore, Queen Elizabeth, and the Fuso all have Azure Lane variants. And God, I wish they just sold these as camos, because I do enjoy playing the Baltimore, and she looks good. She really, she just looks so clean. Like, I'm all for a clean skin. And let me tell you, that Baltimore skin, I love playing the USN cruisers, and the Baltimore skin looks real good. But I'm not paying 15,000. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'll just play the regular Baltimore. I don't know if there's any statistical difference. I don't have access to the ships to test that. But if you want to pay your way to a tech tree ship, you got an option for it now. Now, the other two ships that also have commanders are Grafsby and Charnhorst. Of course, those are already premium ships. So these are just camouflages that are 5,000 doubloons, or about 20 bucks. And they get the standard 4.5% dispersion concealment bonus that you'd get from a different permanent camouflage, like the camouflage that's already on the ship. And I'm going to say that with the most recent changes within permanent camouflages, how you can get a permanent camouflage for any ship, it's just a matter of melting down enough other camouflages. These don't really do it for me anymore. I think permanent camouflages on tech tree ships are cool for the events, just because it's something unique you get during the event. These, you already have that statistical boost, and like, if you're really in love with it, I guess go for it. But for me, doesn't cut it for me. So I will be staying far away from the camouflages in these ships. But now let's go ahead and look at the commanders. We have Baltimore, Queen Elizabeth, Grafsby, Charnhorst, and Fuso. And one way I look at this, and how I like to think about whether it's worth to purchase these as commanders, is there's two kinds of premium commanders you want. One is one where the base trait is so good and you don't mind, you have extra money and it's burning a hole in your pocket, and you don't mind spending money just to have that base trait to be able to be used on a certain build. And that's cool, that's great. That's not how I would be spending the money, just because I think there's better ways to spend your money. The other way is, a lot of times these premium ship commanders are ones that are just kind of copy pastes of a different commander within that same line, but you will get a unique base trait and some other tech tree boost. And if both of those are better than what's on the tech tree, then those are the ones that I like to consider to purchase. For me, that's really only happened with Einstein. All my other premium commanders, I've been lucky enough to kind of pull from crates. But Einstein has been the only one where I've gone, well, I really like Norman Scott, but he's kind of already, he's my designated guy for one style of USN cruiser. He's my style for the light cruisers. I'm going to go ahead and purchase Einstein so I don't have to flip Norm Scott between the two kinds of cruisers for the Americans. And that's the reason I purchased him. But anyways, let's go ahead and first take a look at the Baltimore, or at Baltimore as the commander. You get rudder shift speed boost, so you'd want to use this as a kiting commander kind of bonus, get your maneuverability up. And then her unique trait does 2% AP shell penetration and minus 10% time to detonate your AP cruiser shell. That 10% is probably going to be stay the same across all 4 level ups. The 2% is probably going to boost up to 8%. Kind of a cool thing, especially because she also has the American version of the special HE. So in theory, you could use her and have special versions of both HE and AP, which would be interesting. I think that would be fun to play with. Also, her base trait of improving the ship steering, that's cool. That's something you'd want to use for those kiting ones. So you might get use out of it on the American ships, but really using this on something like the Japanese cruisers would probably behoove you more, but still kind of cool. I like the idea of this one. This one would be like a maybe. I would purchase this if I found $20 sitting on the street. On next to Queen Elizabeth. And her base trait is Queen's Orders. You're going to get a boost in reload time, a boost in AP shell damage, and a boost in battle, the group and dispersion, which is really cool. Like, in theory, this sounds like the greatest trait in the world until you realize how little it will most likely affect your game. By the time, if you sunk all of her promotion orders and everything into it, boosted her all the way up to level 20, you're looking at 2% gains on all of that. So 2% increase reload time, that's not that great. 2% AP shell damage, okay, that helps a little, but there's definitely traits out there that help you more. And 2% shell grouping, yeah, that's better dispersion, but there's probably, once again, other ships that, or other traits that are going to increase dispersion more. In theory, sounds like a great trait, but because it's affecting 3 things, Wargaming had to kind of knock it down, or else it would be completely and blatantly overpowered. So, interesting in theory. I like the idea, I just don't think it's strong enough. And then her unique one is going to be spotter duration. You boost up your spotter duration, and you get an extra charge of your spotter plane. Great, but how often do you remember to use your spotter plane, and do you, like, does the boost in duration make it so that you can fire 2 salvos? No, it doesn't. I have the same one I purchased. The other one I purchased, or one of the other ones I have, is Optimus Prime. And he has a very similar trait. Problem is, the even when you boost it all the way, you can't get 2 salvos off. If you're able to get 2 salvos off with boosting up the spotter duration, then I think it might be worth it, just because then basically you're doubling the efficacy of using that spotter plane. But without being able to do 2 full salvos, I don't think it's worth it. So Queen Elizabeth, I would not go for. Great in theory, but sadly it just kind of falls apart, which is unfortunate. Next, on to the Graf Spree. Let's go ahead and take a look at this profile. Base trait increases the amount of HP restored by the repair party consumable. Okay, that's great. I love using repair parties on my current Graf Spree, and this is the base trait. So if you want to Nelson up a different ship, that would be pretty cool. I think after 20, what is that? You'd get around 3% boost, which is decent. 3% per repair party, and then add that on to a ship that has good repair party, and you're looking pretty good. Unique trait. This one is interesting, and I kind of like it, and it makes me almost want to purchase this one. Decreased detectability for cruisers, 2%. That's usual. 8% detectability by the time you upgrade it all the way. Fine, whatever. That's a good concealment mod. The next one, the increased air detectability range. This one is such an interesting trait, and I almost wish it was the base trait instead, because it would be so powerful as a base trait on, like, destroyers. So air detectability range. In this case, most of the time when you have detectability ranges, it is pulling that same percentage for both your line of sight by sea and line of sight by air, and that percentage affects both of them. In this case, the detectability by air range is so much more. So you have the room to play with, hey, guess what? I'm going to take cover behind this island, and they're going to launch the plane. and they're going to try to kind of get it over the other side of the island, and they might be able to spot me. This protects you from that. This trait is really, really cool, and I hope to see it in different commanders, because I would love this as a base trait, because I think it is an incredibly powerful perk if used correctly and on the right ship. What limits its power here is it's on a cruiser for the Germans, or this is going to be a cruiser build. And how often are you getting spotted by planes as a German cruiser rather than by other ships? I think not very often. It is not your primary worry, and I think this could be really cool on a different class of ships. And I hope this trait moves to a different ship as a base trait, or a different commander as a base trait, or finds its way somehow into a destroyer commander, because I think that trait could be incredibly powerful. Okay, moving on to the Charnhorst. And base trait right here. Here's the money one. If you are someone who wants to min-max your build, reduce dispersion from main battery. Just any class of ship, you don't like the dispersion, you can go ahead and throw this base trait on, and it's going to help it. Is this what every single German battleship commander has been looking for? Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah. German battleship commanders, there's already a lot of premium ones out there. But if you hate the dispersion, which everyone does because it's terrible, guess what? Hey, Wargaming's here to sell you a $20 solution to that problem. Other benefit, other skill, unique skill, is a torpedo range, or a torpedo buff for the Charnhorst and basically all of the other torpedo battleships. So that's Odin, Tirpitz, Gneisenau now. Yeah. So the other torpedo battleships, you could theoretically use this commander on. So, you know, if you wanted to go ahead and give up, if you know, this middle tree already, or this second tier already was kind of useless. You kind of chose between faster rotation speed or the increase, the betterment of your secondaries, which, hey, you know, they did get up buff and they are a bit better, but they aren't god tier. I think this is, you could argue that this torpedo speed buff better than your secondary accuracy buff, and that having a base trait of dispersion, pretty good. This might be one of the commanders that you look at getting. And finally, Fuso. Let's go and take a look. So base trait is increase HE shells, fire chance. Yes, Japanese battleships can cause fires. How often, though, are you wanting to load HE? Not very. Fuso does have a very high damage, like DPM in fire, if I recall correctly. But even then, I don't know if I would want to basically wedge myself in to only firing HE from a battleship. And I think that's what this trait does, which makes it so that I'm not 100% a fan of it. And then her other unique trait is Battle Spirit. Maximum HP and maximum HP is increased by 2, and incoming damage is decreased by 2. So basically a 4% delta on it. And I'm sure after 4 tiers, you're looking at possibly a 16%. I don't know how much it goes up, but if you start at 2 and each tier, you get 3 more tiers, is 8% maximum HP and 8%. That's a very powerful thing. I'm sure it's not actually 16%, because that would be kind of game breaking. Also, that's kind of rough math. I'm sure there's some statistical error I just did there where when you have 2% and you're adding them together, they don't statistically actually mean that you're adding the 2 percentages together, because there's some sort of multiplication in there, especially when you're dealing with damage multipliers based on armor and angles and all that fun stuff. I'm sure there's a thing, but based on my napkin math, that could be a very powerful and kind of fun kind of perk. But I don't think that top tier, the increased HE damage, gets me in the door on this one. So overall, I don't think I take Fuso. And yeah, that's the Azure lane content. Now, we do have a wonderful free code that Wargaming put out. So if you want some free Azure lane content, it's a patch, but hey, guess what? It's free, so we might as well take it. The code you want to go ahead and put in at WoW Legends Code Redeemer is F6QMAH2FZA. Once again, F6QMAH2FZA. Go and put that in, get a free patch. Yay, free things. So yeah, guys, that is all of the Azure lane content that came to the game today. If you like the video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.